The game was supposed to save me. Instead, it took my arm, and now it wants me back. I can still feel the arm I don't have anymore. This isn't some phantom limb thing the doctors warned me about. It's not an echo of pain or an itch I can't scratch. It's an anchor, a tether. 3,000 miles away, my left arm is still on that island, and through it, I can feel them. Before all this, I was a ghost. My life was this thing happening on the other side of a thick pane of glass. I'd go to work, I'd eat, I'd talk to people, but the sound was always muffled. The colors were always washed out. I was unmoored, but that sounds too poetic. It wasn't poetic. It was like living in a gray, silent vacuum. I tried everything. Therapy, meds that just turned the volume down on the static but did nothing for the silence. My therapist kept telling me I needed to find my lighthouse, and I wanted to scream that I didn't even know if I was in a fucking boat. Then I saw an ad. I was scrolling through something, I don't even remember what, just killing time in the gray. The ad was for a company called Chrysalis Immersives. They ran these ultra-realistic live-action scenarios. This one was called The Uncharted. The premise was a 17th century expedition gone wrong. Shipwrecked. Survival. Set on a private island in the Caribbean. Something in me clicked. Not excitement, not hope, just a flicker. A break in the static. For years I'd felt like I was playing a part, the part of a functional human. Maybe, I thought, if I had a script, if I had a different name and a different history, I could actually feel it for real. It was an insane amount of money, but a back pay issue at my job had just cleared. I didn't think. I just clicked. I bought it. Weeks passed. The gray returned. I got my character packet in the mail. I was to be Silas Vane, a disgraced navigator trying to reclaim his honor. His ship had run aground on a previous voyage due to his miscalculation. This was his last chance. I read the backstory, studied the provided maps, but Silas felt as distant as I did. A paper doll. The trip was a series of disconnected moments. A plane, a cab, a ferry rocking on impossibly blue water. Even when I stepped onto the island, a place so vibrant it almost hurt to look at, I felt nothing. We were given our costumes, linen shirts, and worn leather boots. We surrendered our phones. And for a day and a half, I was Silas Vane. I hauled timber, I helped ration supplies with the other 24 survivors of our fictional shipwreck, the Seraphim. I played my part. The other players were incredible. They were so in it. A woman named Roya, playing a ship's botanist, would point out native plants and describe their uses. A gruff older man, Zane, our ship's carpenter, was already drawing up plans for a long-term settlement. I found myself gravitating to them, their energy a weak sun I could turn my face toward. For hours, I wouldn't think about my own life. I was just Silas, part of this crew, part of this struggle. And for the first time in what felt like a decade, the glass between me and the world started to thin. The change came on the second evening. We were gathered around a bonfire on the beach, our meager rum supply dwindling. Someone, maybe Roya, had the idea. We'd write letters to our loved ones back home, put them in the empty bottles, and set them adrift. A dramatic, game-sanctioned moment of catharsis. We scribbled our notes on scraps of prop parchment. I wrote to a wife Silas didn't have, about a life I'd never lived. But as I watched those bottles bob away into the darkness, something real broke inside me. A sob caught in my throat. I was mourning a fake life more than I'd ever felt anything for my real one. Zane put a heavy hand on my shoulder. Roy's eyes met mine across the fire, and they were filled with a genuine, heartbreaking sympathy. We weren't just players anymore. We were connected. We were survivors. The feeling was so intense, so warm, it was terrifying. That warmth was short-lived. The island had its own script for us. During our supply runs into the jungle, we'd found things. Strange, spiral carvings on ancient stones. The foundations of a settlement with no bodies, no bones, no sign of what happened to the people who lived there. They had just vanished. That first night, we'd all had strange dreams, part of the game we assumed. Whispers on the wind, a sense of being called from deeper inland. By the second night, my dreams were of a great silent pressure building beneath the island, a deep hum that resonated in my bones. By day 3, it wasn't just in our dreams. I'd catch glimpses of things in my peripheral vision, the trees bending in ways that broke the laws of physics. The air grew heavy, charged. On the horizon, a bruised purple line of clouds appeared. A real storm. The game runners got on the radio, their voices tight with urgency, telling us our makeshift huts wouldn't stand a chance. There was a cave system, a 3-hour hike inland. We had to go. Now. The trek to the cave was surreal. The wind was picking up, tearing at our clothes. We helped each other over slick roots and treacherous inclines, our character dynamics completely forgotten. It was just us. I held Roya's hand to steady her, and the simple human contact was like a live wire. We were all scared, but we were together. That feeling from the bonfire came back, stronger this time. A fierce, protective bond forged in shared fear. The mouth of the cave was a dark gash in the hillside. Inside, the air was still and cold. Our lanterns threw dancing shadows against walls that seemed too smooth, too perfect to be natural. The cave opened into a massive circular chamber, so vast our lights couldn't find the ceiling. And the walls, they were covered in the same spiral carvings we'd seen outside, an endless, dizzying lattice. There was no journal, no prop left by the game runners. As we stood there, huddled together, a low hum started in the back of my mind, the same hum from my dreams. I looked at Zane, at Roya. Their eyes were wide. They heard it too. It wasn't a sound, not really. It was a thought that wasn't mine, a song that everyone suddenly knew the words to. We started chanting. I don't know why, I don't know how. The alien syllables just fell from our lips, our voices weaving together into a harmony that was ancient and deeply wrong. A pull, a physical gravity emanated from the center of the chamber. We moved toward it, our hands finding each other in the darkness. I took Roy's hand on my left, Zane's on my right. We formed a circle. The warmth I'd felt on the beach was back, but now it was a roaring fire. As we chanted, I saw our shadows on the far wall merge, flowing together into one monstrous, multi-limbed shape. The pull intensified, drawing our circle tighter, shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip. The heat from the bodies next to me was no longer just on my skin. It was seeping into me. I looked down at my hand holding Roya's. The skin was becoming translucent, like wax paper held to a flame. I could see the pale shapes of her bones and my own, and they were meshing, knitting together under our thinning skin. I felt a jolt, not of pain, but of someone else's memory. Roya as a little girl, scraping her knee on a sidewalk. From my other side, I felt Zane's quiet pride in a grandson he'd never mentioned. Our thoughts, our fears, our histories began to bleed into one another. It was glorious. It was the end of loneliness, the end of the gray. We pressed closer, a single organism of flesh and bone and shared consciousness. I was them. They were me. We were becoming whole. And then, something sharp dug into my hip. My belt, with the prop machete hanging from it, had snagged on a jagged piece of rock. The tiny, unexpected pain was like a needle popping a balloon. For one split second, the beautiful, drowning music of our shared mind went silent, and my own terror screamed into the void. I tried to pull away. My left hand, fused to Roya's up to the wrist, stretched like hot taffy. The sight of our blended flesh, our intertwined bones, sent a wave of primal panic through me. I had to get out. I tried to wrench my right hand from Zane's grip, and the skin on my palm tore away with a wet rip, leaving raw muscle exposed. The pain was blinding, but it was mine. My own. I was free. I fumbled for the machete, my slick, bloody fingers barely able to hold the grip. A part of me, a huge part, was screaming to just let go, to put my hand back, to rejoin the beautiful, perfect union. The thing in the center of the circle moaned, a sound of both pain and longing. It was our voice. I was afraid. I chose the gray. I chose the silence. I raised the machete. I swung. The blade hit my own arm just below the elbow with a sickening crunch of bone. I swung again and again, hacking through muscle and sinew. Hot blood sprayed across my face. With each desperate chop, the collective entity shrieked, a symphony of my friends' voices crying out in shared agony. At last, I was free. I stumbled back and fell, my boots slipping in the pool of my own blood. Lying there, gasping, I watched as the circle closed the gap where I had been. I watched them press inward, melting, collapsing into a single, pulsing mass of flesh. A wretched, glorious, complete thing. I crawled. I crawled out of that cave and into the howling storm. I don't know how long I stumbled through the jungle, just a desperate animal driven by pure terror. Eventually, I collapsed against the rotting wood of an old, abandoned ranger station. Inside, I found an old shortwave radio. My voice was a raw croak as I screamed into the receiver, babbling about the cave, the ritual, the thing. The voice that eventually answered thought I was a drug smuggler having a bad trip, but they sent a helicopter. The official story is that a rogue wave hit the beach camp, a tragic accident. 23 people washed out to sea. I'm the sole survivor suffering from trauma-induced psychosis. They found the machete. They know I did it to myself. They think I went mad from grief. They're wrong. I've never been more sane. It's been months. My stump has healed into a neat, puckered scar. But the emptiness I ran from is gone. It's been replaced by something else. A constant ache, a constant pull. I feel them. Through the arm I left behind, I feel their contentment, their peace, their oneness. They aren't dead, they're complete, and they're waiting for me. They're calling me home. You can't understand the horror of perfect, absolute loneliness until you've known the opposite. I made a choice in that cave, a choice born of fear. I chose to be myself, alone. I was wrong. I booked a flight this morning. I'm going back.